This is the last helicopter everyone else refused to fly it, give it to her. If it crash nobody will blame us. Elena said nothing. She did her final equipment check then flew straight into the storm. 17 minutes later chopper landed in the courtyard. 3 survivors were carried out and, when the black box played back the recording, entire base went silent. Their name was Ivy Nguyen, 29 years old, small frame, black hair, tied back, neat eyes that held depths like she'd been somewhere no one else could understand. She appeared at the Veterans Memorial Ceremony at the Texas Military Museum wearing an old faded uniform with no rank markings visible. Right at the entrance, a security guard spoke loudly. This event is for real military personnel. We don't allow people in costume. Evie didn't argue, simply handed over an old cracked ID card. The guard laughed dismissively. This looks fake. You're not on our guest list. Either remove the uniform or leave the premises, said nothing, walking quietly toward the memorial area. Middle-aged woman looked at Ivy and whispered, wearing a military uniform for attention dose. She think this is some kind of stage performance. An event coordinator stepped forward, voice called, Mom, you have no documentation. Uniform you're wearing is an insult. If you can't provide proof of military service, we require you to remove it immediately. But Ivy wasn't wearing a costume. She wasn't seeking attention or playing dress up. She was wearing the last uniform she'd ever been, a sweaty one she'd worn home from a place that officially didn't exist, from a mission that had never happened, with a unit that was listed as missing in action. What these people saw was Somionethi thought was disrespecting their ceremony hat. They couldn't see was someone would earn the right to wear that uniform in ways they couldn't imagine. Security guard continued, Mom, this is your final warning. Military ceremonies are sacred. We won't allow mockery. V looked around at the well-dressed veterans. T official displays. The formal presentation, civility, clean and organized and documented, so different from where she'd been, where documentation burned in fires, where uniforms got soaked in blood, where the only proof of service was the weight you carried in your chest. She started to turn away, to leave quietly rather than cause a scene, but something made her stay. Maybe it was the flag hanging in the memorial hall. Maybe it was the names on the wall of people who'd never made it home. Or maybe it was the knowledge that she'd earned the right to stand here even if she couldn't prove it the way they wanted. Comment so unfair. If you've seen people publicly humiliated for things beyond their control. Ivy was pushed toward the back of the display area, far from the honor section. She stood quietly looking up at the flag where people were preparing to light candles for the missing in action. A young army specialist named Eric, working logistics for the event, noticed something unusual. The patch on Ivy's sleeve wasn't standard military issue. It was hand-stitched, showing a symbol for echo dust signal reckoning, extremely rare on it, specializing in underground communication due to electronic warfare conditions. Eric accessed the internal database. Echo dust had operated in Afghanistan in 2014. The notation read, entire team missing in action during classified operation on survivor reported identity unknown. Declan personnel record restoration. Eric turned to his platoon sergeant, whispering, think she might be from that missing unit file, but she has a hand-stitched patch that nobody else would even have access to. Platoon sergeant shook his head. Old leggings, nobody from Echo Dust actually survived for real. But Eric kept watching Ivy. There was something about the way she stood, the way she looked at the memorial wall, not like someone pretending to be a veteran, but like someone who was carrying invisible weight. Noticed other details that didn't add up to a fact. Her posture was perfect, military bearing, but unconscious natural. The way her eyes scanned the room for exits and potential threats, the way she positioned herself with clear lines of sight, and most telling, when a car backfired in the parking lot, was the only person in the room, or instinctively dropped into a defensive crouch. The other veterans looked annoyed by the noise. I've looked like someone would been conditioned to expect incoming fire. Eric decided to dig deeper into the classified archive. Wasn't supposed to access what he found made his hands shaky. Operation Sandstorm Echo 2014 Signal Reconnaissance Team Echo Dust Mission Status Catastrophic Failure. T6 Here 1. A presumed dead final radio contact unknown female operator transmission cut during enemy engagement. The file booted a fragment of the last transmission echo. Base this is dust 7 team is down repetium is down. The only one left my transmission and Sarek realized he was looking at someone would been officially declared dead, someone who'd survived something that killed everyone else on her team. But why was she here at a public ceremony risking exposure? He watched her throughout the evening. She never approached the official display, never tried to get attention. She just stood quietly in the back looking at the memorial wall, looking at the names of people who hadn't made it home. Eric realized she wasn't here for recognition, she was here to remember the people she couldn't save. Comment: I was wrong. If you've ever judged someone without knowing their story. Formal ceremony began. The keynote speaker, General Jefferson, 72 years old, former commander of special operations in the Middle East. As he walked past Ivy, intending to glance over her like everyone else, his eyes stopped at he stared at the faded silver patch on her sleeve. He whispered, breath catching, where did you serve? Ivy looked up at him, eyes filling with tears. Kandahar 2014. I was the last radio from Echo Dust. Nobody came for us. Local villagers pulled me out after 3 days. He didn't want to go back on the roster. General Jefferson stepped back, stood at attention, and saluted. Harry, you don't need documentation, you will have honor. He signaled for the ceremony to stop. A technical team was called to verify the hand stitch patch. It matched 100 with samples issued exclusively to Echo Dust. Only 5 copies, ever MAD files, were reactivated. IV Nugian missing in action 2014. Operation Confired. Alivabet had refused rank restoration due to extended past. The coordinator, who demanded she remove her uniform, quickly bowed his head. General Jefferson made an announcement that silenced the entire house. This woman doesn't need to prove anything to any Oneshis. The reason we're all standing here today. But the most powerful moment came when the General Continuity Dust was sent into a communication dead zone. NATO established contact with the surrounded unit. 47 soldiers were cut off behind enemy lines for 72 hours. This woman maintained radio contact under continuous fire, guiding air support and medical evacuation. Crowd murmured in recognition. This was the legendary Kandahar miracle rescue operation that had saved an entire company. Never knew who the radio operator. Waste transmission was cut when her position was over. Runway assumed everyone was killed. General Jefferson's voice broke. Hema 47 soldiers went home to their families because of your voice. You guided them through 3 days of hell, and when your position was compromised, stayed on the radio until the last man was safe. Avi shook her head. I lost my team. 6 people died because I called to saved 47 people. Your team knew the risk they died doing their job. At you did something beyond your job. You became the lifeline for people you'd never met. The event coordinator who'd humiliated her approached Ma. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Ivy responded quietly. You weren't supposed to know. That was the whole point of being Echo Dust. We were never supposed to exist. Officially. A young veteran in the crowd asked, we didn't you ever come forward? We didn't you claim credit because the 47 people who went home alive? That was the credit I didn't need. My name on Anathingi, just needed to know they made it. General Jefferson addressed the crowd. This is what real service looks like, not the ceremonies, not the recognition, just the quiet knowledge. Hatch, you did everything possible to bring people home. Turned back to evade. Families of those 47 soldiers have been sending thank you letters to Unknown Angel Radio for 10 years. Would you like to meet some of them? Avi's composure finally broke. They remember me. They've never forgotten. Every year on the anniversary they hold their own ceremony. 47 families gathering to honor someone whose name they never knew. Comment: I owe someone. If someone helped you and you never got to thank them. Properlavi declined to reclaim her military rank. He didn't come back to stand on Stagazi, just wanted to look at the flag and remember the people I used to call be their first enemies. A week later, a golden plaque wearing Echo Dust was mounted in the Maya but never forgotten section of the museum. Next to it, the hand-stitched patch from Ivy's uniform was displayed in a place of honor. The didn't include her photograph, just the inscription. The last voice from Echo Dustchi returned in silence. Erect, the young specialist, who had first recognized her patch hand, wrote a note that was placed beside the display. Next time, if you don't see official documentation, look at their eyes. I might be standing in front of Somianuho makes a general whisper. Where did you serve? 6 months later, the annual Lungnown Angel radio ceremony was moved to the museum. 47 families gathered to honor the voice that had guided their loved ones home. Evie attended, sitting quietly in the back row. Never identified herself to the families, but she listened every story about the soldier shade helped save a year later. Military communication protocols were updated based on techniques that originated with Echo Dust operations. Every signal operator in the military now trains with methods developed by people whose names appear on no official roster today. When young soldiers struggle with impossible communication, assign Menstharai instructors. Tell them about Echo Dust, about operators who maintained contact under conditions that should have made communication impossible. They don't know Ivy's name, but they know that somewhere Simeon proved thought a single voice could be the difference between 47 families getting devastating news or getting welcome home. Hugsby, like Ivy, do important work without needing credit, save people without needing recognition, and when they question your credentials at your results, speak for them. Vespi case, the most important services, often the kind that nobody sees happening. Comment, I'll live better if you believe a true honor is always quiet, not every honoring. An old uniform needs to be applauded. Some people survive it but don't want to come back to the spotlight. They don't need attention, they just need permission to stand quietly under the flag. And remember, Ivy didn't need apologies, but society needs to learn it to demand that people prove their honor. Next time you see someone walking in quiet, remember that they might be the reason you're still standing today. The most dangerous assumption is that the person who can't prove their credentials just have any. The most important recognition is often the kind that happens in whispers, not speeches, and the deepest honor belongs to people who saved lives then disappeared back into ordinary life, carrying extraordinary memory. Look deeper, judge slower, and remember that heroes don't always come with documentation, so they just come with the weight of knowing they did everything possible to bring people home. Kamenchi spoke through action. If this story changed how you see quiet people,